Welcome back to Franchise Audio. This is Eddie, one of the voices of the podcast.
This is another fucking voice of the podcast. Jay, thank you so much for tuning back in. If this is the first time you're listening, thank you for fucking joining the party.
Just a little quick podcast we got for you guys. We got two topics that I find interesting. Both of them are, I want to say, kind of controversial. The first one, maybe not so much.
I don't find them so much interesting.
Right. I guess. Yeah, I don't know. The first one is that we're gonna talk to you guys about is gonna be about marijuana. Just about the maybe some new perspective on as it's becoming more legalized. Mexico just legalized it today officially.
Which is nuts.
For use, and it's one of the ways they're combating the war on drugs in Mexico. But we're gonna give a little bit of perspective around marijuana. Indica sativa, some general information on it as it becomes more legalized, more marginalized, and more saturated in the market, and how maybe it's not as good as we think, and also how the overconsumption of it can have some hindering effects. And then the second topic, which is, everyone's irate about this shit, but Lil Nas X with the Satan shoes.
That's, I don't even want to say unspeakable of, but it's pretty. It's a lot of things. This whole thing with Lil Nas X. It's funny. It's crazy. It's out there. It's maybe a little too out there. It's just so many things. It's just so many things, and then people are really asking for some type of censorship on this shit. Like, people are really not with the bullshit.
And people are outraged. So those two things we want to brush up and talk about. If you guys didn't know about either of these situations, then welcome to the podcast. That's what you're coming in. That's what you're tuning in for. The first one, marijuana. So many people recognize marijuana or cannabis from obviously the utilization of it and how it's been used. But marijuana has been used as a herbal remedy and for a multitude of reasons for thousands and thousands of years. Obviously, one of its contents is THC. So that's what gets you that feeling of being high.
Yeah, that's what gets you high as all balls sacks.
Yeah. So that's one component of marijuana that has those effects. Similarly to being higher, that different state of mind.
Yeah.
The chemistry behind that chemical exchange, it's in the THC that it changes in your lungs and then goes to your brain, and that's what gives you those feelings. Sometimes too much consumption of THC could make you feel anxious or paranoid.
I know. I've fucking definitely been there one too many times.
I've been there as well. And then you have on the other side of it, the other really potent chemical inside of marijuana or cannabis, which is CBD, where it gets its name from.
Yeah.
So both of them work together to give you relaxing effects. And both of them have worked together for thousands of years, like we stated on the podcast, to basically be a herbal remedy as a natural plant that exists in the environment. But what I want to talk about is what it's becoming, I guess, now in the modern century, as people have smoked it, as people have ingested it and made it and concocted into a bunch of different things, and how people are crossbreeding strains to create all these new different strains of marijuana.
They're called hybrids.
The hybrid strains, and really how much science there is lacking, I guess, behind what's going on, and at least the level of production that's going on. It's almost kind of scary, because in the sense of like, this is we were talking a little bit about it on the podcast, but this is essentially not the same marijuana that people were smoking 20, 30, 40, even 50 years ago.
Oh yeah, like this isn't your grandpa's weed, what we're fucking with right now. This is some next level shit.
Because the actual CBD on these strains, which is what combats the THC, what kind of brings it into equilibrium and gives you those feelings of relaxation, muscle relaxation as well. Like it cures like your aches, and that's the real medicinal purpose of it.
Yeah, like they both have their medicinal, but like like if CBD, like if you just like were to ingest that however you would, like you wouldn't get high at all.
You wouldn't,
but you would feel like how you're saying, like your muscle relaxing and just like a sense of just of chillness, but you're not high, but you just your muscles and everything, like your skeletal system, your muscular structure, it feels good.
People use it even as a topical cream.
Yeah, you
for,
use
like,
it topical. You give it to your pets and everything because it's that effective.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean it does have those remedy effects for like rashes, for muscle aches or pains. They use it almost like your tiger creams, your dragon creams, like the ones from Asia that people buy all the time, or your Vicks Vapor Rub, which is really famous in Miami because everyone's Cuban here, and they're like, hey, ponte vivaporru for everything. But it's the CBD content is almost non-existent in modern day marijuana, in modern day.
Well, yeah, because it needs to be fresh, to be as potent as they need. Well, the market wants it to be nowadays
because of the market for people purchasing, the people that are heavy buyers, the consumers of marijuana nowadays. They want the THC content to be almost insane because they want to get high. As you smoke more, you build a tolerance for THC, so you need a higher level of THC to feel it. But it's become so much that all these different strains and these hybrid strains of marijuana don't have a CBD content. So now studies are coming out that there's some actual pretty negative effects to overconsumption of THC. There's a new study that just came out that there's a lot of a new disease for your stomach when you consume marijuana or
like a
marijuana.
Gut bacteria type of thing, or
so no, this is like an effect, an adverse effect of smoking it.
Shit. That
basically you become nauseous, you're throwing up, you can't hold any food down. And this is something that it comes from smoking it. A lot of people that have switched over from smoking to edibles because it has a much lower like content have switched over because of that reason. Because now there's like a very it's up and coming. But I hope I don't know if anyone's on the podcast that has tried marijuana has felt maybe this effect after smoking, which is really stomach cramps, pain, nausea, vomiting. It's something that now they're being able to study. Like, oh shit, this THC content, it's maybe too high for the consumption of the user. Now, I like to think of this phrase when it comes to any consumption of any drug, whether that be caffeine, marijuana, any alcohol, anything. The poison is only strong enough to kill you depending on the consumption. You know what I mean? Like anything that you consume in moderation or in the reverse, in abundance, is what's going to get you, to have addictive properties or to have adverse effects on your body. The overconsumption of things is, I think, what causes that. But that's interesting to see because nowadays you feel like there's basically nobody, at least as a millennial, like saying like, oh no, marijuana is not bad, legalize that shit, smoke it, whatever. But it's interesting to see like a different perspective. Like, hold on, there's not enough science yet to back this heavy level of THC content.
For sure, because we've never really, like, as the market continues to evolve, the THC gets higher, right? So we're reaching like new territory almost like every day with, like the weed markets and everything, was just like how more potent shit's getting. Now we have concentrates that go all the way to like 90% something THC.
Compared to 10% CBD, which is insane ratio that don't exist obviously in the wild.
Yeah, we're a long times away from like the weed that just gave you the munchies. Yeah. Right? And it's just kind of scary. I don't even want to say scary for me, like as a marijuana user, but it's interesting / scary. I'll say scary a little bit too, to see now there's been reports that state that THC, the effect of THC on like adolescent brains, can have like a big hindrance, right? Yeah. And an adolescent brain can be considered like anyone up to like the age of like 23 years old. Mm-hmm. That's like really like when they say like you're no longer, I don't know, you're just out of that like adolescent stage. Really.
Out of that, your brain is developing in certain areas.
Exactly. So that's when they say like it really kind of stops developing. So they're saying like any THC use on a brain that's still in that stage is, studies have shown that hasn't been the best. At least that's what the data kind of is showing. And I saw that report like a good like maybe 7 months ago already. Yeah. And so it's pretty I kind of want to say scary because I don't want to be too much of a hypocrite on this, but if it's something that, not even a kid can consume, then it's like kind of like, I don't know.
You see, this is the part that gets me because like I know what studies you're talking about, and they're trying to ramp up studies because the market's it's for the consumer. It's a consumer market, right? So you're meeting the consumer at what they want, and what the consumer wants is high level of THC,
straight up,
for the feeling of getting high. So the marijuana that they're making is that marijuana.
Exactly that.
Because
Exactly
you could
that.
technically buy hemp or CBD.
Yeah.
Because hemp is another like another flower that has basically no THC content in that way.
Oh yeah, I don't know too much about hemp. I guess I don't know too much because it doesn't get you high, so who gives a fuck, right?
Yeah. So exactly, right? Because the market's looking for something that gets you high.
I know you can make rugs out of it and shit. Motherfuckers make blankets,
of
like
course.
like like material
That
fabric.
was one of its uses back years ago. They would make it into strong cloths because
There you go,
the
yeah.
fibers and the starches are so strong on the flower. But they don't even know, they don't have a picture anywhere of what an original indica strain looked like.
Yeah.
Or what an original sativa strain looked like. And indica and sativa are the two different strains that most people know about because they grew in different climates.
Yeah.
Now with all the crossbreeding and all these hybriding and looking for that THC.
You grow it in your basement with some lights.
Exactly. You could do it anywhere now.
Literally.
Under the conditions, and now you could do it in a way that stuns the flower. So basically what gets you the most THC is you want a female plant.
Yeah, it needs to be female.
It needs to be a female
That's
plant.
the ones that reproduce and give the
bud.
nugs and the buds. Yeah.
So that nug, now they're actually getting so large because the female's looking to be pollinated by the male plant. So they're thinking as like a plant, what makes me basically more attractive for pollinating, to have these bugs fly from plant to plant, would be large buds. But they're becoming so massive because there's no male flowers at all. There's only female flowers that are being grown. They become so massive. It's almost like an anomaly. The way that you like see researchers, or even on Netflix, there's a great episode on Explained about marijuana. But basically, it's almost like the word that they use to describe it is almost like an anomaly. It's almost like hideous. Like if you were looking at other plants, it's almost like these nugs shouldn't be that big. It shouldn't be producing that. Like
they're literally, it's engineered to be.
You're
that
mutating
way.
the plant.
Yeah,
You're
like
literally mutating the plant.
But it's kind of, I don't want to say almost the same way, but I remember when we were like at Biscayne, and you and Nikki were telling me about that mandarins are just a clone. Of some other fruit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the fuck do you mean? And it's just delicious, and it's sold in the supermarket everywhere.
It's crossbreeding.
But it's just literally that to like a different scale.
Mm-hmm. It's at a scale that
it's
now
engineered to literally be that. So that's why it's so crazy how it is, like how we're talking about. That's why it's such an anomaly. Those nugs are so big. It's grown the way it has. And it looks the way it does.
And these people growing it, obviously, there is a science to there's just
crazy science to it.
This is backed by science. This is botany. This is the study of plants and how you can take a plant and get it to do things like this. So there's definitely a science to it, and there's definitely a way that you could grow it, and there's definitely the climate to grow it in, etc. But the thing is like now there's not like a science of what the adverse effects are yet.
It's not as developed.
It's not as developed as the actual consumption of the THC.
Yep. If you're looking at it as what's that thing called, a seesaw?
Yeah.
Right. In terms of the market's needs and wants, it's so much heavier than science and what we can really say all of this like THC consumption will do to us years down the line.
Mm-hmm.
The early science and stuff that we've had has been pretty pro
marijuana, of course.
Pretty pro marijuana, has shown that you can get great use, out of this plant. Now at the level of THC use that we have in the average consumption user, someone living in Colorado, California,
Amsterdam,
their THC content is pretty safe to say. It's pretty it's usually above the 20%.
Way above. I mean, realistically, you can almost get anything above 20% in those areas.
To now buy a bud that's sub that is kind of you're buying kind of the whacker shit, because there's so much other shit that's just so much naturally already better. So just seeing the prolonged use of just high THC on our bodies is going to be interesting.
And so a lot of what
I'll be a test subject for that though.
As long as so what you're saying about adolescent brains and how some of these areas are stunning growth development, I was looking at a study that they don't have enough measurements yet of what this means as far as the gray matter in your brain for developing diseases like schizophrenia or something like Parkinson's, or even because the level is so high that you get some levels that it helps you with these things. But then you get to a certain level that it invokes these things. As far as what the study was saying, they don't have enough measurements at how much like this is affecting the gray matter in your brain. To
Yep.
think of something like
Yep.
this triggering, if you're already susceptible to something like schizophrenia, and this triggering that gene, like that's probably not a good thing because it's gonna make you highly paranoid. It's gonna make you highly anxious. So it's interesting to see now, like studies now being developed to be like, hold on, wait, maybe it's not as effective in the use of every day as we thought,
Yeah.
and maybe this needs some level of actual speculation from like a doctor. Maybe that now we got to start specializing. If you're really going to use this as a herbal remedy, if you're really going to use this for medicinal purposes, then this needs backing by physicians that are going to study what this does to you. And that's what I think like I
Yeah.
want, right? Because I'm not against marijuana, obviously. I think marijuana in certain degrees it helps a lot, and it's more natural than taking things like pills. You know, it's more
Yeah.
it's more natural than taking really these medications that are for pain that are more addictive and cause way worse effects on your body.
Yeah.
But in a general sense,
At least
you
in
need
my
both.
opinion, for sure, because you'll find some
100%.
skeptics that will say otherwise.
100%. There's too much backing and there's too much research in that area. Now, what I'm saying
Yeah,
is
big
like,
pharma's too big, right? It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
too big.
now what I'm saying is like we need as much backing for the content of marijuana that's coming out nowadays. Because now you could even get strains up to 30, 31% THC. That's insane to me. That's
Yeah.
insane to me because
Yeah,
we're
there's
moving
dispensaries that have that type of shit.
10, 15 years ago. We're moving away from the 10% that was, yeah, this is good for you. This is the, now it's like, holy shit. This is the shit that gets you to hallucinate.
Yeah, this is yeah.
No, this is really the shit that could get you to really start seeing
Yeah.
all these different things in your head, like shroom level, like psychedelics.
Yeah, this isn't the type of weed they were smoking in Woodstock. Like if
No
we go back in
chance.
time and gave some of
Jimi
this
Hendrix
shit
would have
to
never
Woodstock-
fucking been. He would have said,
Hello.
"You got this shit in the future."
He said, "Hello, what's going on here? This is illegal. This
Yeah.
is illegal.
You
This
know-
right here, what you have, sir."
And that's where I think you know, it's not about being against it, but it's about being, I wonder if this is good and on an everyday basis.
Like if
at
this is
level.
good enough, right? Like as it needs to be for you to use it, like at that everyday consumption level.
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes too. I'm not gonna lie.
Because it's like that I've had bad like trips with marijuana that I feel extremely paranoid or extremely anxious, and off of it you don't feel that way.
Yeah.
So you start looking at the strains and you start looking at, like, first off, how you even tell, like nowadays, like how you even tell if it's a sativa or an indica is because the person that is growing it smokes it, see how it makes them feel, and then label it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even
That's
know
it.
that.
There's no
Yeah.
other testing to it.
That's honestly nuts.
And how you get the hybrid strains is when they cross indica and sativa, which
Yeah.
is just two different looking flowers. When they cross those two and then they have the bud, then when they smoke that, they're like, oh no, I don't feel as down. I feel pretty good, but I don't feel super out of my mind. I don't feel super energetic. This is more of a hybrid. Like that shit's insane to me. Like there's no backing to that. There's no like scientific like, oh yeah, this is what makes it a sativa.
Yeah.
This is what makes it an indica. The fact that they don't even know what the flower, like a sativa or an indica flower, look like there's no pictures of that anymore because they've cross mixed them so much.
Yeah,
It's
they're so
insane.
crossbreeded. There's so much of this, and bro, there's literally so many different strains that have been born from like OG strains crossed together. Like there's nothing that hasn't been touched. Like everything has been, and now there's just strains that are just straight up hybrids. Like
Yeah.
it's just literally what they are, and there's so much more of that nowadays than like your OGs, because your OGs, what's also kind of the, I guess, catch-22, the double-edged sword is as you continue to clone and use this flower to produce, it gets weaker.
Yeah, that's the other
That's
part
that's something I had learned at the dispensary. Like that, they had explained to me. That I remember I had asked, "Oh, you don't have such and such," and they're like, "You can." They're like, "It's not really a market for it anymore because it just gets weaker." You know, and then you have this other shit that comes out from these other growers over here that tried some crazy shit, and now they have some alien rock OG that's crack, and everyone wants to buy that, and no one wants to buy the fucking other shit anymore.
You know, that's the part that I think people don't, I guess, maybe know. Like, there's a reason why they get to the point that it no longer affects you as it did because of that same reason. Once you clone the plant, the THC content starts scaling down
It starts scaling down.
ridiculously. The more interesting thing is also the names. Like, yo, the names are fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, names are crazy.
And these are just names literally that someone's coming up with.
Oh yeah, the names really
nothing,
are. Yeah.
There's nothing about the strain of the plant or nothing that gives the name. The names are fucking hilarious. Candyland. You have L'Orange, Blue Dream, Trainwreck. Like, some of the shit that you hear is like, fuck, I don't even want to smoke this shit.
Yeah, like what the fuck are you calling what?
I think the best Cat Williams joke is, oh, this shit right here is called death. What, you mean I'm gonna hit this shit and die?
Yup.
Like there's some names that are just hilarious to me, but there's no backing for the names either. A lot of people think that this is like shit that is being grown at a lab by a scientist. No, this is growers that have the knowledge to grow it.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be like someone with a degree for this shit.
Literally, anybody can grow this shit.
As long as it's legal and you have the environment to grow it, you can make it.
Yeah,
you can make it happen.
A lot of this shit that you've probably smoked that's called, I don't know, Purple Haze, Purple Trainwreck, OG Perp. And a lot of the part, it's called that because it's just purple.
Yeah.
That's literally one of
some of
the
the bud
only
is purple
reason.
in it.
Yeah, it has a lot of purple. It's identifiable enough that you can see the purple on it. So you're like, we're gonna call it perp something.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's literally how it goes. And then you just have enough of that. There's some times where you get them and you may like smoke it and you may have like a hint of, or you may like taste, right, quote unquote, like, I don't know, a lemony flavor or an orangey flavor.
Yeah, like very citrusy or
something like that. But besides that, it's like you say, these names are just coming from osmosis a lot of the time.
You could almost fucking put like random name generator, and this is the shit that people can come up with in 2 seconds. So there's no real scientific backing for that. I guess my philosophy has changed a lot on it from like the consumption, or if I want to even consume it, because now I look at it from a place that's like, I don't want to consume it just to consume it anymore. If I'm going to do it at all, like I want to do it from a place of pleasure. Like I want to do it to enjoy myself in some way, or I want to unlock some creativity in me, or I want to use it in that purpose, right? Because most of the time, like if you're using it every time you feel anxious, if you're using it every time you feel sad, if you're using it every time you feel mad, like there was a joke, maybe not a joke, but there was a thing on Twitter that I saw that's like, oh, if the weed is always getting you angry, then like stop smoking it or some shit. And it was like the joke was like, no, the weed is what's keeping me from capping. And it's just like, wait, like that's literally what it was said on Twitter. And I was just like, wait, what's the point of that? Like if that's the only thing keeping you off the hinges.
Yeah.
Shit. Like, so now where I guess my philosophical approach to it has changed is like, I only do it from a place of pleasure. I only do it from a place of balance. Like if I'm going to consume it at all, because I don't want it to become a thing where I'm relying on substances when I feel negative emotions, because it becomes a dependency almost at that point. It becomes like habitual, because every time you feel that way, humans are all built off habits. You make a habit of, if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you have is coffee, you associate coffee with waking up. Yeah. If you associate being sad or being angry and you go smoke, you associate those emotions with the action of smoking.
Yeah.
And it becomes in that way a dependency. It becomes in that way addictive. And that's where I think people have to be careful. Like if you're listening to this podcast and you're one of those people, like start thinking about the way you're consuming it, because you're not doing it anymore for a place of recreational purpose.
Yeah, like and this can be anything too. It can be weed, alcohol,
anything,
jerking off.
Yeah, anything. Yeah,
if you're no longer jerking off for pleasure, and it's just because you kind of need to, maybe you might need to cut that out.
Dude, I have this whole thing about porn now, but yeah, I agree. Like I just think for any substance, like I said earlier, it's a beautiful quote that I like, which is, the poison will only kill you depending on the consumption. Like there's a black widow will only kill you if it gets a certain amount of poison in you.
Yeah.
So will alcohol. So will this. So will that. It just depends on your consumption. It just depends on moderation. And that's really where I guess like my standpoint is on marijuana. And also, if you find this podcast interesting, another thing you could check would be like Explained on Netflix. It's pretty well in the way that it breaks down not just what we talked about, but it goes a little bit more in depth behind the history of marijuana. And it's always nice to get informed on things like this, because it's going to be legal everywhere very soon.
Yeah, like they're talking about how New York, it passed like this thing that it's about to pass like a bill to make it legal there. Like supposedly, like, I think I think it passed like the seeding round or whatever the fuck to get approval. So that's going to be very soon in their neighbor, New Jersey. It's already legal there recreationally. Another good place to, if you want like some good content on just marijuana, THC, all that good stuff. TED Talks have like a lot of good videos. You know, if you're someone that has an attention span for longer than 12, 15 minutes to watch a video, I think you'll find a lot of good content, a lot of TED Talks.
And another thing, and people love to be outraged by marijuana, but if you have the time or the curiosity for it, I say test it for yourself as far as like looking up the information.
Yeah.
If you've never consumed marijuana and you don't feel like you need it or you don't feel like you want to, perfect. Cheers to you. But it's just interesting to see where it will be heading now as more places legalize it. And I didn't even know New York was on its last steps to do that. That shit's insane to me.
Oh yeah, it's about to get like past there legally, recreationally, real soon.
Yeah. So now this happened that people love to be outraged by marijuana, but nobody loves to get outraged more than Christians about like Satan.
I mean, it's pretty safe to say Satan's not the best person in the world.
Right. Like the story of Satan is like it's a horrible story about, just. But here's where the Lil Nas X thing, I guess, gets me a little bit. People have been outraged over this same exact shit. Maybe not a specific shoe, but this same exact like devil worshipping for years now. Like I think back to like the heavy metal days. Motley Crue literally has an album called "Shout at the Devil."
Oh yeah, there's been heavy
Marilyn
like
Manson,
Satanism fucking type of deal,
Marilyn Manson took off his ribs
to suck his own cock, right?
Something like that. But he's super heavy on Satan worshipping too. I think.
And supposedly Satanism isn't what everyone thinks it is. I haven't looked it up for myself because I can give 7 shits about anything about that. But supposedly it's not as dark as it just sounds off the rip.
Supposedly, I don't give that as much. I don't give that as much thought or research as the average Satanist, that the influencer.
Yeah,
because it just doesn't interest me. Any worshiping at that level is like something I find like I don't know. If you're doing it to piss people off, like Motley Crue or Marilyn Manson, I get it. I get the appeal to it because now you're like. It's almost like Kanye West says it, like any press is good press.
Yeah, I mean, especially too if you're specifically
because now your name is out there
in their role, but to even kind of roll yourself in that pile of mud is kind of it's whatever.
Look,
but to each their own, really. To be honest, to each their fucking own.
If you guys don't know who Satan is, I mean, damn, if you don't know who Satan is, but basically one of God's angels that basically fell from heaven and betrayed him and became the devil.
Yeah.
And there's a whole following for it. It's called Satanism and satanic cults. And they basically worship the devil as this other thing. Because what you're saying is true. There's more than just like they're just evil pieces of shit, I think.
Yeah, it's not exactly. It's not, and that's supposedly their thing is, we're really not just evil pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Really is what we are. And it's kind of like,
yeah, which is interesting.
What are you trying to sell to me?
Yeah, because
that's like what an evil piece of shit would say to somebody.
Yeah, because it's interesting because Satan's whole like repertoire is being an evil piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing a shitty job then at representing the devil himself, and that's pretty. I don't know. I can't even fuck with that.
Yeah, if you're a worshiper at all, you're a bad one.
Exactly.
But anyway, so Lil Nas X, if you guys don't know what's going on, he's he partnered up with a like a graphic designer, creative sneaker producer.
Yeah, he's done
he did some God ones too.
Yeah, which I was gonna say. It's funny because he's a like a sneaker designer, a custom sneaker designer that's done other designs before, and it's funny because he said he did Nike as well. He said he did a Jesus one, like a Jesus Christ one. Yeah, and he didn't hear shit about it. Nothing happened, but now this one is pissed a couple people.
Of course. So there's a couple people off. Lil Nas X made a video that he's humping and grinding, dick and balls and everything, like on the devil all over him. And based on the video, he partnered up with this guy to release a limited supply of some Satanist shoes. And I think it's going to be like $1,018 for a pair of them. And they're limited to like 1,000 shoes in the making. And they're Air Maxes. They're Nike Air Maxes. So this guy using his creative talent to make these shoes.
Yeah.
Everybody's outraged. Like, even Nick Young came out and said that he's not going to have his kids listen to Old Town Road anymore.
Oh, he's blackballing him.
Yeah,
he's saying, fuck Lil Nas X.
This is,
Nick
to
Young.
me, this is fucking hilarious because, I'm not religious at all. If you guys listen to the podcast, you know I'm not religious. I don't bash religion either. But it's just fucking hilarious because you didn't see the atheists come out and fucking bash this guy for making the Jesus Christ shoes. You don't see the atheists come out for bashing him for making the Satan shoes either.
Yeah.
Nobody really gives a shit except like super heavy Christians and people that honestly, like, yo, can you just not tell your kids? Can you just talk to your kids if you're religious about, there's some people out there that are going to do different shit. Because this is fucking hilarious to me. Bashing, like, canceling his music and everything. Nike's outraged by this. Nike wants to sue.
Well, yeah, as right now, they're, like, talking about a lawsuit because this has just been a lot for them in terms of just public shame and everything.
They've gotten so much public shame because they just came out with the shoe. They didn't do anything else, but this guy's customizing into this, like, Satan thing that they're suing the creative designer behind the shoes. They're suing him. For, like, almost ruining their name, basically. That's what they're suing him for. But I find it ridiculous. Here's why I find it ridiculous, right? One, he made some Jesus Christ ones, and no one fucking flipped the titty. And
no one gave a shit about that, right?
Also, it's Lil Nas X. So I'm already, I don't give a shit. I don't listen to a single one of his songs. I don't care.
Me neither. I don't, like, he's just not my cup of tea.
He's not an influencer. I don't even look at influencers, but this is definitely not someone I'm looking at as an influencer. But it's kind of fucking hilarious how this guy just goes and makes a shoe, puts some devil stuff on it, and people want to not only sue, but ban his music, do all this different shit. When the first fucking law in America and the Bill of Rights is freedom of speech and freedom of religion.
Yeah.
I mean, what is everyone getting? This shit's been happening for years. This has been happening. It happens all the time, and nothing happens. It's not like he's calling fucking Satan to ram a fucking asteroid into the earth. Yeah. Nothing's gonna change about your life. This is the shit that I find funny because people get so enticed and so revolted by shit like this that
at the end they think is right.
Yo, you know what I want people to see and get passionate about? Why the fuck Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays? Like, get riled up about that shit. Lord's Day, you're not going to open?
This is one of the reasons that I love that we have, like, just our Bill of Rights and everything. Because reasons and situations like this shouldn't be enough, I feel like, to cancel somebody. In my opinion, right? Yes, at the end of the day, I don't fuck with what he's doing. Like, I'll straight up say, I think even just the idea of it is whack. Regardless of whatever the fuck Satanism has to go with, just the idea that you would even want to involve yourself in that level of thinking, whatever the fuck it is, however the fuck it's related to Satan, it's just stupid to me. Whether you're religious or not, I find it whack, right? But to want to, I don't know, cancel his whole shit and go crazy and everything. I get the whole, kids watch him. At the end of the day, it's hard to, I guess, really monitor and make sure, see what your kids are watching, but that's just the world. And then if it's not Lil Nas X, it'll be called something else.
It'll be Britney Spears.
So
people were outraged by Britney Spears too.
So I kind of, in a way, I love that he has the right and the right to do this type of thing, right? And something like, I don't know, like a Bill of Rights can kind of protect him to a certain degree. But I just find it whack how people get so enamored with what they think is right or wrong that they feel like they should have the right to kind of cancel this motherfucker. Yeah. And even though at the end of the day, you can go through the argument of, it's like what the market wants, because at the end of the day, these are like the type of people that would be listening to him. But it's just, I don't know, that's just kind of like whack to me. Just don't listen to his music. Just keep it the fuck moving. Who gives a fuck?
That's what I'm saying.
Even though we're here fucking talking about it.
Yeah, look, we're just talking about it now because it's interesting to see. I love seeing. I guess I'm like an agent in chaos in this way. I almost like seeing people go fucking nuts about the silliest shit in what I find silly as fuck. Look, from your aspect, like what you're saying as far as him, I completely get, because it's like, out of all things you want to do, that's what you want to do?
Literally.
That's what you want to invest your time in?
Yeah, you have this huge platform, and this is
you can do anything.
Bro, like you can make I want to make my own trail mix. You can make a fucking trail mix. You can do so many fucking
1,000
things.
shoes. Supposedly they even have a drop of like inside the Air Max air. They even have like a drop of real human blood.
Imagine if you actually partnered with Nike and did some.
Yeah,
real
some
I don't
cool
know.
shit.
I'm just saying, like, it's just so many ways you could have like
Or yeah,
gone
forget
about
the
some dope
shoes.
shit.
Yeah, forget the shoes. Whatever the fuck, like using that platform, you can do a multitude of things. Like yo, even trail mix, which is fucking hilarious. But
Like, I don't know, like, fuck.
I think it's whack from that aspect because it's like, what? Where are you investing your time there? But also, let them do it. Like, who gives a fuck if you're not consuming it? And if you don't want to consume it, then don't consume it. Because on the other side of people getting outraged, like you even had the mayor of a city, I forgot what, the governor of South Dakota, which who the fuck is that anyway?
Oh, he said some shit about Lil Nas X?
Yeah, she said some shit about
Oh,
Little
she?
Nas X. Yeah. And of course
Sorry.
she's a conservative. But it's so funny how like they want the people that want to cancel not only bring more attention to this shit. Because look, of course, we're talking about it because it's been that blown up that it's just funny as fuck.
Yeah.
And then on the other aspect, it's that they want so badly to control everybody around them in some way. Like people just have that knack of like telling you you're living your life in the wrong way. That to me, it's a good philosophical question to ask yourself. Like, what other important shit should you be worried about that's not Lil Nas X in these shoes?
Yeah, I just think like someone, I just think like someone, especially like Lil Nas X with like the platform and like kind of the stature that he's at, he should be just a little more careful with the type of attention, I think, and energy he wants to invite this way. You know, with like the talent that he has, I just feel like he can do something just so much more pure and so much more really like worth his time, right? And who the fuck am I? I'm not in his shoes, so who the fuck am I to say
his time if he's
like what the fuck is worth his time or not?
Yeah.
But it just kind of feels like you could have done. You just want to be, I guess, more cautious about the type of energy, you know, you're inviting your way, because regardless, and I get being different and being out the way and spearheading things your own way. But at the end of the day, you still have to some degree, deal with the perception of others, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying how much you care about it and everything is completely different, but you still need to, that's still a reality you need to deal with, other people's perception to a certain degree. So I just feel like it just, I don't know, it's just a bad look for you.
Let me tell you, this is genius level marketing from him, though. Because
Yeah.
the shoes are going to for sure sell like...
Oh, no, those shoes will sell out.
They're gonna
1,000,
go
only
fucking-
1,000 of them.
yeah,
And I hate saying
they're
it
done.
like that, but like,
They're gone.
Yeah, he has 1,000 fans that will buy the shoes. Yes.
100%.
Yes.
For
they will.
$1,000, they could be $5,000. They're gone.
And then you have like the entrepreneurs that will want to like buy to try to flip.
Because now it's a story. Now it's a moment in history. So the marketing is fucking genius from him.
Straight up.
But honestly, you know, the part that I find funny is like not only are conservatives probably pissed about this shit, but if you're like really like a Satan worshiper, like you're probably pissed about this shit too. Because now it's like, wait, why the fuck are you bringing attention in this way towards Satanism? Because it's just Lil Nas X making a shoe and then making a music video grinding on the devil.
Yeah, because he's just kind of. Do you really think he's into this, or is he just kind of memeing?
There's no
the fuck
chance
out
he's
of
into
it?
this. He's
Right?
memeing this shit so hard.
He's
He's doing
memeing-
it for the attention. He knows exactly what he's doing in this way. Because now it's not only like it's been trending on every news outlet for a while. It even got posted on CNN. Like it even has a story on CNN.
Yeah.
So it's for sure something that has now gotten to the level of attention he wants to, because he wants to sell these shoes. And if I was him and I made these shoes, if I already invested my energy into doing this stupid ass shit, I want these shoes to sell out.
Sure.
So it's interesting to see in that way. But this is the other part, right? Like Britney Spears, I just hinted at it a little while ago. Britney Spears was a singer, dancer that had nothing to do with anything, and people bashed her for the clothes that she wore, for the way that she danced, for all these things that were just natural on stage. And I'm not comparing them to each other, but I'm saying the situation is remote. And how the kids watch you and all this shit. Yo, educate your kids is what you have to do.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you still need to make sure that love is there for your kids and showing them the right path. I think so. At least that's the way I was brought up, and I feel like it was pretty effective. I'm not that much of a shithead.
Give your kids not only the option of what they consume, but have conversations with them about what they're consuming.
Yeah, show them nuance.
Because the thing is that they may see Lil Nas X or some shit, right? Or they may see something else. But as long as you're opening conversations into like whatever your kids are consuming, you'll be able to influence them better than the content that they have. And I was raised in that way. You were raised in that way. And I think we turned out pretty fucking all right. But besides that, This is Franchise Audio. This has been a quick episode for you guys. We just wanted to, talk to you a little bit about marijuana and some things that maybe we don't know yet of the landscape of where it's going. And then Lil Nas X. Guys, if you're investing any type of energy into this shit, there's probably 101 things that are better off worth your time. But if you didn't know, that's what's going on with Lil Nas X. This has been Franchise. Thank you so much for listening.
Talking about investing, we're not financial advisors, but if there's anything you should look into, it's just some public knowledge about the marijuana companies that are out there because the industry is booming.
Bye, Bitcoin.